Hi chat, check out my new epic live 2D VTuber I made. After 5 days, 2 of which were drawing and 3 of them being long days of rigging and learning live 2D, here I am with my very own fully drawn avatar. And this video is going to be going into the process of creating it, the mistakes and frustrations I encountered, and everything I learned and what I would do differently next time. So why? Why would I want to do this? Why create a live 2D avatar at all? Well, I decided to create my own avatar for a couple of reasons. Number 1, even though I only have been drawing for about a year and a bit now, about 86-ish hours of drawing since April last year, I thought, hey, if I'm going to go do Twitch streams, YouTube vids and such, I really should make something more expressive. And the second reason is I wanted to have the most control and flexibility over my model. Paying for a professional rigger and artist is expensive, and if I need to make some small changes or rigging changes, it would be quite expensive for a new model from a super duper talented artist and rigger. And your X-eyed bud has too many anime figurines and Stroopwafels to buy. So I decided to say, row, fight the power of my own self-doubt and tackle the daunting world of live 2D. So let's get into it. So, time to start the journey. The first thing I need to do was learn the software. But where do you start? Well, I found a tutorial by Kira Omori Live 2D. They have an amazing tutorial showing you how to rig up a duck with a knife. It teaches you rigging and basic physics. The tutorial was 27 minutes long, but it took me around 8-ish hours to complete. And here was the result. So did the tutorial, gotta say, pretty good. Look at my janky rigging on the extreme angles. But wow, that actually looks pretty good. Also, we got physics as well. Look at that duck. He's gone quacking mad with power of a knife. It was a super motivating tutorial and gave me the confidence to start drawing my own rig. I keep looking up at recording and I keep forgetting it's going to show in the recording. So, drawing my rig. During 2 streams I did on the 7th and 8th of January, go follow Twitch, TITCHY Studio, I'm live every now and then. I drew up a model in a way that I thought was correct from what I thought was right. Drawing each part as their own separate layers, like the eyes, the eyelid, the lower eyelid with the bags and the hair being broken into a few pieces. Now this is where I made my first mistake. On the lower eyelid, I made the mistake of not realising I'd be masking the eye into the eye white. So I added too much colour, and as you can see, it's going to be the most frustrating part of this rigging for me. I'm going to give the thing is no one else is doing their eyelids and giving them extra deformity. You know what? I'm going to risk it for a chocolate biscuit. I think this is okay. If it's wrong, then I think I can just change sections of it in Cubism. No, pass me. What are you doing? Stop doing that now, stop! You know what, I'm gonna risk it for a chocolate biscuit. I think this is okay. If it's wrong, then I think I can just change sections in Cubism. So we're gonna merge these 2 layers now. I would also next time keep the head outline separate from the face. As you can see, when I look over to the side, you can see that part of the line art of the head disappears. And this is because of the eye bags and the colour being above the face layer. But if I would have had these separately, I could have actually put the line art above it and I would not have had this small minor glitch that's sort of around. It was a long process of drawing and merging layers together, but while I was drawing, I was trying to keep it in mind that the rigging will 100% take longer than the drawing. So I really wanted to make it as simple as I could, but also trying to give me some flexibility when it came to rigging it to learn some stuff. And now that the art was done, it's time to rig it for real. So here we are, the exciting bit, the start of the rigging. I followed a tutorial series by Cutie Dragon, and I cannot sing its praises high enough. All the instructions were clear and I understood what was going on, so if you're going to learn live 2D, I 100% recommend those tutorials because I didn't expect the rig to come out looking this good, and I don't think it would have came out looking this good if it wasn't for their tutorial, so that gets a recommendation from me. Day 1, I was going to be focusing on the facial expressions, adding happy, sad, I can't pull the sad, angry, brow movement, and cheek puff. I've disabled cheek puff because the tracking's weird with cheek puff, but it was there and I did add it. And mouth movement. Like that, you see? And some hair physics to end the day off. So it's a lot. That's a big day. So I got to work. Trying to figure out how to mesh things properly was tricky. And to be honest, even now I don't quite understand how to fully mesh things correctly. But what I did do is I tried to keep the outsides as dense as possible and as close to the line art as possible. That way, when I moved the mesh, the lines at the edge would move a little bit more nicely. But again, on that front, I'm not certain. So if someone knows and could tell me in the comments below, that'd be awesome. And here you can see why doing the bottom eyelids in the way I thought was correct was indeed incorrect, as I was having to move the bottom eyelids to make sure they weren't getting in the way of the eyes now. And this line you see here with the green dots, that's a deform path edit tool. This tool allows you to move the mesh far more easily than grabbing every single mesh vertex, and it was incredibly useful for doing the eyelids. And after we'd rigged up the eyes, the bottom eyelid and the brows, it was time to copy and paste it all over to the other side, which was a relief. I was terrified that you would have to rig each eye separately and just try and gauge how accurate you were being. But nope, you can just simply copy it over and mirror it, which saves time. Efficiency, baby. I found that after learning the eyes, it was a huge motivator. Being able to see that I'd rigged something, no matter how small, truly gave me motivation and a sense of accomplishment, and the confidence, of course, to believe in myself to be able to rig the rest of the face movement. And over time, I was able to. I was able to rig the mouth, the cheek puff, jaw movement, eyebrows, you name it, all with the same tools that I used for the eyes. But then, it was time for the hair physics. Scary. I started off with the first method that was given in the tutorials, which was using skinning and pendulums. Skinning was cutting the mesh down into loads of little pieces and then attached them to the rotation deformers. The next day, however, I changed this as I was unable to figure out how to move the hair, as I kept getting an error when trying to create the deformer to do the XY movement on the head. But for this day, I carried on and moved on into the physics. And the physics was fun! You create pendulums, and these pendulums react with each movements of your input. So if I move my head left and right, you can see how the hair is reacting. And that's all done through pendulums. You can adjust how long, how sensitive, how long they swing for. I spent time locking all that in. And then I had a disaster. All the physics disappeared.
Wait, whoa. What? Wait, have I just destroyed all of my stuff?
They just vanished. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened, but I re-rigged it under the optimistic mindset that it's helping me remember what I've learned. So it was good practice. And at the end of the day, I had this.
She's alive. It actually works. The face movement doesn't move, but I can go I keep looking at my phone so I can lose the track. It thinks my eyes are shut. It's coming along. Wow, this is motivation to do more now.
V1 was pretty cool, to be honest. That was a big moment for me. That was huge. Honestly, watching the whole rig come alive slowly was such a magical and satisfying experience. I'd say the lessons I learnt that day were to draw the bottom eyelids differently. You can copy and paste sections of rigging over and mirror it to save time. And physics was not as hard as I thought it was. I fully expected it to be way more complicated. Day 2. Head movements. And to redo the hair. So, unfortunately, there was no more installments of the tutorials I was following at the time of making this rig. Which means I needed to figure out how to make the head movements and body movements myself. Bring it on! I've got this. Progress was slower here as I was trying to figure it all out myself. However, like everything else, it was the same kind of process. I made and created my X and Y positions, and once I had all that locked in, I created deformers for the deformers. Meaning that I could move the deformers I had created linked to keyframes without affecting their movement. If that makes any sense. So I did this as well for the eyes. You can see me fiddling with those flipping bottom eyelids again. My biggest regret is those flipping eyelids. And it was the same process again for the nose, the eyebrows, and the mouth. And then we come back to the hair physics. This time I used the second method that Cutie Dragon has in their tutorials, as I could not create the deformers for the previous method, which is 100% a skill issue on my part. In the first method, you use rotation deformers on the skinned mesh. However, for this method, you make a deformer for the hairpiece, and then you use a temporary rotation deformer and make rotations at specific areas of the hair that you want to rotate. I personally preferred this method, as I felt I had a bit more control over the movement, and then there was the case of redoing the physics, which was way easier now that I'd redone it once before. And now I came to the most daunting task of this entire process to me. The hair X and Y movement. In my research of sort of doing this, I saw a lot of people saying don't chase perfectionism, and this part is really truly where I found that line to be so true. While moving the hair around, I noticed that I couldn't get the hair to be perfect. Some parts would clip through others, the centre hairpiece had to be relayered because when I turned my head it wasn't in the correct layer, all to just make it so it didn't look weird during head movements. And at the extreme angles that I was rigging it for, it just looked weird and I wasn't satisfied, and I spent far too long trying to perfect it. But afterwards, when I saw the result I'd created, I realised that most of the time you won't see these like scuffy bits. You won't notice all these messy bits, because when you're puppeteering your model, it's always moving. No one's ever going to sit still in this angle. No, unless you're doing like me, but you're always moving, so you won't see these little moments where it breaks a little bit. One bit I can actually show you right now is if you look at my upper left fringe up here, if I move my head really quickly down here, you'll see it actually pop up through the top of the middle centerpiece. There you go. There you go. You can see it. It just about pops up, and you can see it. And that's an error. But that will happen only if I force it to happen. It's a very unnatural thing for me to do, to go bam in real life. And by the end of the day, I had this. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. The lessons I learned here. I prefer rigging with temporary rotation deformers rather than skinning. Make sure to draw the hair with the head tilt in mind to prevent weird layering issues. And don't chase perfectionism. After hours, and I mean hours, of playing around with this model now, being almost fully completed and seeing various funny moments like the tracking going funny, I went to bed and prepared for the final day of rigging, which would be the body movements and the cleanup. So here it was, the final day, and I was determined to finish it. So I started to use all the knowledge I had learned and created the hair physics for my huge swirly hair in the middle up there. I created the XY movements for it to follow the head, and then I made a ton of small micro adjustments to the head, as I noticed it didn't look right when I was looking down. After feeling satisfied with the head movements and how the perspective looked, I was able to use the same logic from the head movements down to the body. I programmed the rotating movement of the body, added some Z-tilt for the head, and created some light physics for the ribbons the same way that I did for the hair. And then after a bunch of micro touch-ups, I was done! And what you see now is the finished result. So, in conclusion, learning Live 2D is daunting and intimidating, but I promise that it's not as complicated as you might think on the surface. Sure, right? Sure. To create something insanely good with physics and insane detail, that 100% is another level. It is insane the amount of skill and knowledge that some artists and riggers have to create such amazing models. However, to create just a basic model and rig it, you can 100% do that. I'm a dummy, and I was able to follow some tutorials and create my own model. So can you. So I implore you to give it a go if you're interested in it, even slightly, because you can do it. Row, fight the flipping power of self-doubt or wanting to, I'll just push it aside for another day, and full send it today. After this tutorial, do it today. Just do it! So as an overview, I started with the Kira Omori Live 2D duck model to boost my confidence and learn the basics of the software. I then drew up my own model. I then followed Cutie Dragon's tutorials for the face and hair rigging, and then used the skills learned to rig the movements of the body and the head. Honestly, it was an incredibly satisfying and fun experience. even with the frustrations, every hurdle I managed to overcome gave me more confidence in my ability to finish this model. So I recommend that you give Light 2D a go and full send it. So there we go. Thank you all so much for watching and seeing my new rig for the first time ever. If you have any recommendations or any tips or tricks, please let me know down below. And also, I have to say this as a YouTuber, please like and subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video chat. Bye bye!